Alright, let's look at extending our 3 apples unit tests a bit beyond just counting the number of items in our cart. How might we go about that? How about we inspect the first item in the cart? So we know we've got 1 item, so we could do something like cart.items. There we go, the first one, and then what? What are these items anyway? Let's go back to our design. Alright, we're back with the design. It looks like the items collection is made up of shopping cart items. This is a class that we haven't created yet, and I sort of feel, and hopefully you do as well, that this might be about the time that we need it. Alright, we have already encountered product and quantity, and looks like shopping cart item, enter center box there on the screen, is made up of product and quantity. And product in turn is made up of name and unit price. Shopping cart item is made up of product and quantity. I think this is going to be important. Let's go back to Visual Studio and look at extending the unit test for the 3 apples. Okay, so items 0, which is the first item that we know we've got. What do we want there? Well, if it's a shopping cart item and it's got a product property on it, then we could do something like product dot, well, we know that the product ought to have certain properties that goes with it. It was name and unit price. We haven't done anything with unit price yet, so we're not going to bother just yet, but we do know about the name. We do know what the name ought to be. So we know that name dot should be apple. We know that the name of the product that we're going to put into the cart ought to be apple. Because a couple of lines above it, we are creating a new product, and so we've got a product instance of Apple, 3 of them, and we're adding that into the cart. We're not going to worry about the quantity just yet. Let's extend this unit test 1 line at a time. I think this is a great extension. So we know that for item 0, which will be a shopping cart item, the product's name ought to be Apple. Alright, what do we need to do to make this happen? It doesn't look like we know about product object, which is what our items collection is made up of, a list of objects. It doesn't know about product. Alright, let's go ahead and change that. Items will be of type shopping cart. This might be a good time to introduce it. We've got shopping cart class here, we've got product class here. Shopping cart item is something that sits in between these two, so I'm going to put it between the 2 classes. By the way, so I feel that structure of my code is very important. And right now, we are still putting all the classes, or it's starting to get a little bit unwieldy now. We're still putting all the classes into the same file. So this is test code and production code. And we will look at splitting this up maybe after we've finished this next set of tests. All right, anyway, so public class shopping cart item. Okay, that is good. So far so good. Well, we still haven't got a product on it. Why don't we fix that? Alright, here we go. Public product, name product. I'm going to remove the public setter. It is by and large not a good idea to have public setters. The object will end up too mutable. However, at the end of the day, we do need to set the product somehow, and we will do that via a constructor. Okay, still doesn't like it. Oh, it doesn't like it because the items collection is in fact still objects. We will need to make these shopping cart items. So I'm just going to do that. Alright, so far so good. Of course, now items.add is complaining. Alright, no problem. Let's add a new shopping cart item. Okay, this is all good. Okay, product must have a name. Okay, cool. Let's go and add a name. We've got the name on our product constructor, but we haven't got a public getter for the name yet. So public string name, and here I will remove the public setter as well. And I kind of know that the name will be set to name. I mean, we could wait for the test to fail, but really we might as well do that now. All right, so far so good. Let's run all unit tests and see what happens. We've got a failing unit test, and it's given 3 apples as failing. Null reference, object reference not set to an instance of an object. Okay, how could this be? Well, let's have a look. So we've got items 0, Well, we've definitely got items in our items collection. That is fine. We're also setting an item into our items collection, so we've got a shopping cart item, so it wouldn't be item 0. And, well, okay, we will have a problem with the product. The product will always be null. So if we're calling name on the product, we will get a null reference exception. Fair enough. Let's fix that by creating a constructor for shopping cart item taking a product. Public shopping cart item product parameter name product. And we might as well assign the parameter to our property product equals product. If we don't do that, we're going to continue getting a null reference exception, and we want to fix that. All right, that's looking good. But we have got a compilation error. And the compilation error is in our shopping cart add method, where we're adding our shopping cart item into our items collection. And obviously we're getting this problem because shopping cart item now expects a parameter in the constructor. What do we do here? What is the fastest way, the quickest way of fixing this? Well, it would seem that the quickest way of fixing it is just to grab the product here from our parameter list and pasting that in here. And ultimately, this is what we will end up with. However, we want to extend the algorithm in such a way, as per rule number 3 of TDD, that we're writing the least amount, as in not necessarily the least amount of physical typing, but the simplest code that we can get away with. And the simplest code is something other than using this product variable, this product parameter. The simplest way to fix it is to kind of hard code something. What we would hard code here is something like new product, and then we want a value in here. Ultimately, the value that we want here, because we're working with apples, will be apples. However, I just want to force another runtime error just quickly to see that this is actually where the unit test would fail. So I'm going to not use apple, but I'm going to use broccoli. Right? I'm going to use a slightly different value. The idea is to make sure that if we were to make this apple, then it would finally pass. Okay. Remember, I'm going through this process just really slowly, step by step, and explaining it all along the way. In reality, I would probably be 5 or 10 times faster doing this. When I'm in the process of writing software using TDD, I don't have to explain every step to myself. So if this process seems slower than it is, in reality, once you've gained some experience with test-driven development with TDD, you will be much faster in this process than the way I'm explaining it right now. All right, so let me run all the unit tests and see what happens. This is great. So we've still got the 3 apples unit test failing, but now it fails saying cart.item0, so the first item, .product.name expected to be apple, but was broccoli. What did we finally do to fix this? We fixed this last error by saying apple. Apple is our product name. And now we're going to run it all again. Brilliant. Our 3 apples unit test is now passing. And we have refined the assertions. Before, we just had to have an item. Now, item 0, so the first item in the collection, had to have a product with name apple. Next, let's extend this unit test even further, refine it even more. Okay, what's next for our unit test where we add 3 apples into the shopping cart? How about this? Cart.items 0, so the first item, well, I think we ought to be able to spy on the quantity as well. We know how many apples we're adding into the shopping cart. So quantity should be 3. Quantity didn't sit on product. Quantity was a property that sat with the shopping cart item itself, which makes sense. The product is just an apple at the shopping cart level. So if I level up, we kind of say, hey, we want 3 of those or 5 of those or 1,000,000 of those. Or the product is the Lamborghini. The shopping cart item is what, okay, the product is Lamborghini, we want 1, 2, or 1,000,000 of those. All right, so that's why quantity sits on shopping cart item, not on the product. All right, let's fix this. So quantity, we don't have it on shopping cart item. Well, let's introduce public int quantity. Yep. So here we've got a public getter as well. We want to be able to spy on the quantity, so we need a public getter for that, and that's fine. And we already find ourselves in a place where we don't have a compilation error, which is brilliant. Let's run our unit tests. Alright, the error is expected cart.items 0, quantity to be 3 but found 0, and fair enough too. I think if we go to quantity, quantity is not being set alongside product on the shopping cart items constructor. So therefore quantity, which is an integer, will by default always be 0. Let's fix that. Alright, int quantity, and we're going to make that quantity is equal to quantity being passed in. We've got a compilation error a little bit up, which makes sense. Alright, we're adding our Apple product. While this alone will not do, we will also need to add 3 of them as per the unit test. So now when we're adding 3 quantity into our shopping cart, then they will be set on quantity, and then in our unit test we ought to be able to read the 3 of the quantity. I think that sounds really cool. Let's go and give this a go. Let's see whether the unit test runs. Excellent. The unit test is passing, and now we have extended it past quantity. What might be next? Are we quite done with this 3 apples unit test? Maybe have a little bit of a think about, and for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, and then we'll come back.